Thank you, Samson.
Great.
Thank you so much.
I can imagine, is this a case where you have been overwhelmed? You have seen what you did not expect?
Once again, I would like to greet your listeners, and also would like to sympathize with all those who have been affected. As DRA, one of our mottos is that we add values to life. We say that those involved, those who have been affected, they are staffs of DRA, they are Ghanaians, they are one of us. We all live in this country together, and there are people, and we don't take it, should I say, likely that they've been affected in this way. We won't say that we are overwhelmed. When you talk of expertise of running hydropower plant, DRA is considered to be one of the best managed plants in the world. For the past 58 years, we've been operating this hydropower plant ourselves without any help from anybody. International bodies that have joined, when we go per skills and standards, they say we are doing extremely well. With operation of the dam over the period, we've charted what we call curves that we normally follow per the forecast that we normally get from international weather centers. With this chart, when the rain starts coming in, which peaks somewhere in September to the middle of October, we will normally know that at this volume of water coming in, this is where we end up with height in the lake. Per the chart that we're following, everything was normal as predicted by all the weather agencies. Comes August, we'll find out that the volumes coming in per as predicted has gone a bit more than as predicted by percentage. From there, we saw that, look, if you allow this volume as predicted to stay behind the dam, where we'll get to is somewhere above 280. And beyond 277.5 feet of the dam, then the integrity of the dam is at risk. And if the integrity of the dam is at risk, then which means that we can break this dam, which we cannot allow it to happen. So from there, we said that, look, with these volumes coming, what do we do to make sure that we don't breach this dam? The room left in the dam was also a bit small. We should also remember that for the past 7 years, we've had consistent rainfall into the dam, average rainfall into the dam. So at least we have enough water in the dam. But as you deal with nature, you can also say that, look, this year, as predicted, that is going to be a El Nino year, which means 90% probability that it may not rain. The rain that will come is very, very small. You have only 10% that it may rain heavily. With that in mind, you have to assume that, look, in case the volumes come in, you just open these gates and all the water goes out to create more room so that if in case the rains will come in, you can absorb or contain the water. And the rain stops to come somewhere in the middle of September. What happens? Which means you've depleted the amount of water in the dam. You can't use, if you deplete the amount of water, the consequence is that you are not going to get enough water to generate power to meet the demand in the system, because you have to manage this water for another season when the rain should come in again. And that is what we did. When it comes to competencies and professionalism of our staff, we are on top, and we knew what we were doing. Our forecasts were on point, and were exact as, and we're exact as we find ourselves today. I won't say we're overwhelmed at all. The decision taken to spill was to start in small volumes, also to at least monitor, because if I start in small volumes, going forward, in case there's not enough rain, I can just close my spillway gate. I'll preserve my water in the dam and use it for power generation. In case the volumes continues to increase, then I can increase the spillway gate to discharge more water. We started with 20,000 cubic feet per second, which is the same as almost half of the volume that normally comes through all the systems if they are running. The banks of the river was not inundated. Monitoring the data also showed that the rains were still coming. Tracking the rain showed that it was raining somewhere from the eastern part of the eastern borders of our country into and the northern part from Burkina Faso. So which means that we have to increase the gate opening to contain the amount of water coming. So from the 15th September we started spilling up to 30th September, the flooding in the communities was very, very minimal. We won't say that there was no inundation. There was slight inundation around, but it was extremely minimal, which did not really affect the communities that much. But with that also, with that said, when we did the simulation somewhere in May, which the communities were the actors of the simulation, were totally involved, as concluded, at least some will move when they see these volumes of water flowing through to safe havens, to maybe friends and families and what have you. So that was one of the expectations along the line. And we can say for fact, as we per records so far, at least we think the communities really knew what was coming. They were prepared. They took precautionary measures and evacuated themselves. That's why as of today we don't have any fatal incidents in the sense of somebody getting drowned in the water, somebody trapped in his house to be pulled out of it from the roof or something. But all said and done, to the question that you asked, I would say that we are competent enough and we're not overwhelmed with events. What we are seeing is as we predicted it should be.
Right. You started spilling on the 15th of September. When will it end?
Per our data, over the period of time, the rains subsides from middle of October to the end of October. For the past 72 hours, we've had zero rise of the lake, which means the amount of water coming in and the amount leaving the dam is the same, which indicates that the data that the track that we are following and the data that we have indicate that the rains are subsiding. We are hoping, per the data means that maybe from today going, we may be seeing negative rise in the dam, meaning that the amount of water coming into the dam is less than the amount that we are discharging. So we have to start closing the gate. We are definitely sure that before we get to the end of this month, we'll be getting into those negatives and we'll start closing the gate gradually.
No guarantees. That's what I hear from you.
Oh, it's nature. With nature, you cannot say, okay, you can say tomorrow rains will stop, no water will come. No. But when we look at our tributaries in the north, Saboba and Nanuli, all the tributaries are receding. The amount of water coming in are reducing, which indicates that the volumes in those tributaries into the dams are reducing. But sometimes it rains directly onto the dam. Those one you cannot predict, you cannot determine. Those are some of the things we are looking out for, that it shouldn't happen, that there should be a major storm directly on the dam that can change the track that we are following. So as I said, towards the end of the month, we know that we'll be reducing the amount of volume that we are spilling out.
How do you explain why we see some people who are taken by surprise, quote unquote, surprise, because the water got to them before they began to move?
Something, per our EPP protocol, ourselves. When we know that we are going to spill, we'll communicate through all the agencies and through to the district assembly. The district assembly is the administrative head in the district. So definitely they'll communicate with the people in the community that this is coming. This is what the area has alerted us. NADMO and Co will also know, because NADMO is part of the district assembly structure. They also will be aware that this amount of water will be coming in. I would say per human beings sometimes will say, well, let's wait and see. We won't fault them. As I would say, last year we sent out notice that we may spill. When we tracked the chart and the amount of water coming towards September, we said, look, the amount of water and the predictions will not be as expected. So we didn't spill. We didn't open the gate at all. So maybe at the back of their mind, last year they said they didn't spill. This year they started spilling small quantities. Maybe they will not get to the huge volume. So let's wait and see. The travel time of the water from Akosombo to maybe the communities, maybe about 24 to 48 hours. So you may be taken unawares if you are not ready to move when you saw those small volumes coming and you see the inundation increasing and you want to wait. You
have had to spill this dam many times over the period, right?
Yes, this is the sixth time that we are spilling the dam.
Sixth time that you are spilling. This is extraordinary, correct?
This one is comparable to 1967 spillage.
1967?
Yes.
Okay.
It's comparable to that. Yeah.
Right. 1967, that would have been how many years after the dam was built?
About 4 years, 4 to 3 years when the dam was built.
Okay. So I imagine that you would have told yourself you needed to do things differently from how you do them normally in communicating with the people. Is that correct?
Samson, we developed the emergency preparedness plan when we stored in 2010 because of international standard. You're supposed to have these emergency plans in place. So we developed the emergency preparedness plan in 2010, which we have to involve all the agencies that need to be involved. That is the Ghana Armed Forces, NADMO, National Security, Police, Fire Service, Ambulance, and VR, and the district itself. That's when we developed these protocols in place, where we have the level 1 spillage, level 2 spillage.
What I mean is that because you had this expectation, because you were not overwhelmed, and because this will be comparable only to one out of the 6 spillages that you have conducted, don't you think there may have been the need to, in your communication processes, include even removing some people by force?
Samson, for every level of spillage, we communicate to the community, as you said. The forced evacuation, that one, I don't think I can veer into it. I don't know the law that backs forced evacuation. As we speak today, there are some people who are still in their building that they don't want to evacuate, or they are scared that their things will be stolen. So it's a decision to be taken by NADMO whether they should forcibly evacuate them from the place to save their lives. That one, I have to find out whether there is that law that you can possibly evacuate somebody from this.
Right. So if you are activating your emergency protocols to resolve this situation, a situation that you have planned for, I'm imagining that you are talking about the army, everybody, as in the presidency, the relevant ministries, everybody would have been on standby to ensure that there is such a coordinated execution that you will not today say there are some people who are there and prefer to be there for fear that if they move, their belongings will be stolen.
I think that call, I will leave it with NADMO and the district assembly to make that call. for us, I think ours is the volumes coming, communicating to the agencies for them to act appropriately. So that is it that we are doing. But at the same time, we're following whatever is happening to see how best we can also be supportive. But we are together as a group.
We see that you are doing a lot in terms of call it the rescue or support efforts. Explain to my viewers and listeners the extent of what you are doing to at least ameliorate their present circumstances. This 31,000 people.
Samson, we are supporting NADMO. NADMO is the National Disaster Management Organization. They have the expertise in doing this. We are supporting them with the funds that they need in doing this, logistics that they need in doing this. That is what we are really doing. So far, we've voted 20 million in support for the activities of NADMO. We've also given some logistics which has to do with our water tankers to make sure there is water in the community being supplied to the community. We've also at least provided new pumping system at Aveime to make sure there's water supplied to the community because the pumps were submerged. All that we are thinking is how do we support NAMDO to make sure lives are saved? And that is what we are doing. Our hospital unit is also in the community. So far, we supported them, NADMO and then the Ghana Health Directorate in the district with about counting 1.5 million Ghana cedis worth of drugs, which we are still going to bring more as needed. Working with NADMO, we've also made sure that there are portable loos in the communities in conjunction with Zoom Lion to make sure the portable toilets are being well kept, well clean, so that people can have a place to.
Can you estimate how much you have spent so far?
So far, per the budget, we are somewhere around 6 million Ghana cedis. That is the amount that we spent so far.
What is the budget you have voted for this?
We voted for 20 million Ghana cedis. That is how much we voted.
And this 20 million was decided when?
From the beginning, Samson, the numbers that we had was around 6,000 in the safe havens. Later, NADMO counted that those who have moved into friends' residence, into families' residence, they need to count them. They counted them, and the numbers were given to us about 4 days ago, which was around 26,000. But we voted about 10 million Ghana cedis when the numbers were around 6,000 as NADMO gave us. When we found out the numbers were going up, we added the additional 10 million to it.
Right. Now, seeing that it is not setting when you are pausing in the spill, are there any further, activities and plans that you are putting in place to take care of what you had said already, you foresaw, you predicted, and it appears to be going the manner in which you predicted it?
The plans in place, the lapses that we've seen, maybe we have to revise our emergency preparedness plan. The other thing is work with government to get the Akosombo Dam in place, also to make sure that some of the water upstream the dam is contained in case we have such huge amount of volumes of water raining into the dam directly. These are some of the things we think that we are working towards to be sure such event, if it should occur in future, should not be as severe as we are seeing it today.
Do you have a plan for distilling of the estuary of the river?
Samson, we've been dredging the lower water bit of the river for some time. Last 4 months, we brought in, we had a contract with 2 dredging companies to come and dredge the lake for us. They came in with their dredgers somewhere last 4 months. As they were coming, I think the dredgers were huge, so they had to chart a channel so that they can sail through to where they have to dock. So as they were charting, I think they caused a bit of turbulence of the bed of the lake, and caused a bit of discoloring of the water. The communities took us to court that we've caused a bit of turbidity of the water. We were able to resolve this issue about a month ago. So the dredging company is now gathering themselves to come back and start the dredging, hopefully by the end of this year. The 2 companies will be dredging. Ourselves, we are going to dredge. But the dredging of the lake, I would say with the situation that we find ourselves in, would not have affected so much the challenges that we are facing. No,
But it would have been helpful. The reason you have a plan to be dredging, correct? In fact, you have a unit responsible for that dredging, correct?
Yes, but that one is mainly to take care of the snails by the river banks, so that those who go into the water are not infested with behaviors and water. That is the main reason, so that the seawater can really travel more into the river and kill those worms and snails. That is the main essence of the dredging, and also to cut the estuary so that the water, when it's flowing, can also flow. The river water has to have its main course of flowing into the sea, and the sea also coming in for the ecological system to work. The dredging is not mainly for flood control. That is not the main essence of the dredging.
But it's part of it.
I would say it is, as focus is not the main essence for flood.
Yeah, and your unit for the dredging is equipped to do this business, does it not?
We've been dredging for the past couple of years. We just had a challenge with our dredger. That's why we have to get private dredgers to come and dredge for us. But we are still working on fixing
the time you got private dredgers, then you have encountered a problem with doing the dredging. When you were doing it on your own, you didn't seem to have this problem.
Which problem are you referring to, please?
You have said that the dredging had to stop.
Yes, because our machine had a challenge. The machine is about 20 years old. It had a challenge. So we have to get the new dredgers to come in to dredge for us.
All right. When you say that you foresaw what is happening and things are going the way you predicted them and so on, don't you feel, hindsight, that there was something you should have done extra?
So I may ask extra in terms of what if you can
avoiding the devastation or minimizing the devastation.
Something. That's why we started with the 20,000, because we know the extent of devastation that may occur if per all the data that we had, what we should have done to create the room for the spillage. To save life, we started with the 20,000 and gradually increased it to where we are today.
Okay.
It was not to just open for it to go to create room so it can contain more water. So it was a decision call that we made that start gradually, give room for people to evacuate, save their lives, And then at least where we are today, when it gets there, we may not lose any life.
Thank you very much. And we wish you the best as you continue to help and assist the affected in the process. And hopefully that the dam doesn't see a rise in water from this point on, so that it will be stopped. I'm going to